What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, and you're here for another episode of the Facts Project. Today, special guest for the third time. What am I talking about? Anthony Stokes here to talk about Decay issues 4 and 5. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you so much, man. This is one of my favorite podcasts. So I always look forward to stopping by when I have a new release.
For sure, and I'm definitely glad to get into it because, now we're approaching the finish line. You know, this is one full series, 5 issues in this volume, and it's the end of this tale. I mean, for one, first and foremost, like, how does that feel to have this story pretty much completed and about to go into everybody's hands?
I mean, it feels great, man. You get a major sense of accomplishment. You feel a little bit sad as well because this particular story is ending. Silver lining is there's going to be a spinoff, so mad spinoff. So it's not too sad, but mostly just relief, man. I'm ready to fulfill this and then keep it going,
Yeah, because I mean, shoot, if we're talking about it, we're talking about issue 1 dropped last year.
No, 2021.
2021?
Yeah,
late 2021?
August 2021.
August 2021. Because I remember when we talked about that, and it was just like, you pretty much, as far as like indie comics, you were fresh in the game.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Being somebody who is a self-taught screenwriter and has had your ways and means of basically wanting to jump into this field for a very long time. And when you did, you came in, 10 toes down. Have had the ability to put six issues out there. If 5 issues of this and then 1 issue of Intrusive Thoughts.
Yes.
So, you've been busy, brother. I'll say that.
I have been busy. Just trying to, get to a point where I feel satisfied where I'm at. We still working on that.
That's what's happening. So, like, when we dive into these last 2 issues, the one thing that a wise man always told me in basically the writing of a story,
yes,
is find something that the protagonist wants or needs or has like the overwhelming ability to want to have in their hands, and try to keep it as far away from him or her as possible. If they even get close to it, take it away from their ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just do it over and over again. The climax will build up on its own. Just keep that shit away from them. So this being a revenge tale, and the story of DK, Trey, Jess, everybody that's involved in this story, like the way that it's constructed, of course, with DK's untimely death in the first issue.
Yeah.
And of course, Trey being, if you want to call him the antagonist, because the way I look at it now with these last two issues, you tend to have a different feeling about him than you did in the first 3 issues.
Yes, there's a bit of a bait and switch there. A big bait and switch where I kind of like to show snapshots of characters. I like to be very economic, right? Because we're paying for the pages. Like every bit of information you are paying for. So I kind of like to set everybody up as like one-dimensional, and then that sets up the story, and then we can kind of go and develop them as the series goes on.
That's true. And you tend to see a lot more of a villainous quality come out of DK because of now him being resurrected. And now you're starting to see a little bit of vulnerability starting to happen with Trey.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, how would you say the construction of basically how you kind of like flip revenge on its end? The coin flips with these two. Like, how do you create that notion within a good 5 issues? Like you're building up a person to be this for 3 issues, and then all of a sudden, boom.
I think having the ending in mind helps, right? Like knowing where you're going. It being about violence and violence being cyclical, one of my favorite themes, which is often the theme of revenge stuff, right? I'm also thinking about Men's Society, Attack on Titan. A lot of my favorite media has that as a theme. So it's just really it just makes sense that I think you'll find a lot of times like somebody will be trying to get revenge and like, oh, the bad guy wasn't exactly who we thought they were at the time.
Right.
You know, oh my goodness, what am I thinking? I can't think of what I'm. So it's killing me on what it was. It's killing me on what I'm thinking in my head, but I can't think of the specific media. I'm gonna think about it though.
But I mean, ultimately, from that example alone, Kane and Menace to Society, where you basically saw him, you know what I'm saying, growing up as this kid that was like, of course, grew up in a city. Best friend is probably one of the illest killers in this goddamn neighborhood named Old Dog.
Ridiculous.
And you know what I'm saying, you come to find out that all he just needs is a little bit of bounce, maybe a little bit of love, and
Yeah.
then maybe just an exit plan. Just an exit plan. That's it. If he gets that in his head, you start to see like, you know, like he's starting to be a little bit more positive walking around. He doesn't want to do as much. He's not as trippy or as a live wire as he used to be. And then ultimately it ended in his own demise.
Yeah, no, I literally watched Men's Society like last week or something, like last month. It's such a great movie, you know, and that's the kind of stories, those kind of really somber, um, really atmospheric. I mean, Men's Society is damn near a horror movie, you know, when you look at the way it's framed, and
Pretty
actually,
much.
and I have an internal battle like what's better, Boys in the Hood or Men's Society, and
True.
it's tough, man. It's really tough to think about. I think Boys in the Hood is more polished, but I think Men's Society its rawness I don't know. It's hard to choose, man. But no, that is a good example. And like I said, I mean, it feels good because I feel like truthfully every issue of Decay has gotten better,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, I feel like, an achievement of itself. I think that, you know, I actually had the idea. I worked backwards from the ending. You know,
Okay.
um, I worked backwards from the ending, so that kind of makes sense as well, as that would be the case. But no, this has been something I've looked forward to getting to hear for a very, very, very long time. You know.
Mm. Now, now Trey being somebody who we come to see in these latter issues as someone of in the first three issues having this tough exterior, and of course
Mm-hmm.
showcasing him as now being vulnerable. In literally the fourth issue, he showcases it because you're now shifting this whole point of view. You're looking at him as he was entering the party that he was going to, where ultimately
Right.
DK met his demise, and you're seeing it as he was actually terrified going up in there.
Yeah. No, because I know that feeling, man. When I go to a party, I get roped to go to a party, and I'm just like, oh my god, I just hope I don't get shot. Like I can relate to that, and also, yeah, just him being anxious, and it kind of turns to an ultimate tragedy, you know, when you get that perspective where it's like, man, nobody. I think Trey says it in the second issue where he's like, I didn't want to be at that party either, you know, like
Yeah,
as if to say, like, this is just a really unfortunate situation. And ultimately it's DK, the one who just escalates, you know what I mean? Like he just turns to 11. He's also kind of like I thought about this, somebody being undead. It's almost like he's like a Michael Myers,
mm-hmm.
right? He's a Michael Myers, but he has, you know, a weakness that is, I think it kind of keeps things interesting. But I mean, I just like that idea of like, all right, what if Michael Myers had a lot more personality, you know?
It's true. And the thing is, like, we barely understand any personality that comes with him because there's a mask behind it. Like you're almost
Yeah.
so the value of perception is totally gone from Michael Myers. To where in this story, because we get to know the characters exactly who they are and their twists and turns and their everyday goings in life, perception is everything. You know, even
Yes.
even in the first issue, like when Trey walks into the door and DK and Marcus are sitting there selling drinks, the first
Yeah.
thing they thought as he's walking towards the table is, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You know, they ultimately see him as a villain, like almost instantly.
Yes.
So like in turn, at the end of issue one with DK and Marcus both dying, it was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it came true. Trey is really a bad person. We understood that from jump. He was just going to be this guy from then point on. But you know, necessarily. You know, he didn't really like ask for forgiveness in these later issues or anything like that. It was like, look, this was just an unfortunate accident.
Yes.
I'm sorry it happened, but I'm willing to defend myself if need be.
Yeah. I mean, he just wanted to be he just wanted to be over with, you know.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's about the cyclical nature of violence. Is that he got into an altercation? I mean, even I don't know how I'm forgetting bro's name. Oh, Shady,
Mm-hmm.
but Nanotherm, LaShawn McCoy. That's how I remembered it. Even him sitting down and being like, "Yo, let's it's so many points where things could be de-escalated, and it's just tragic that it didn't. It's so many dominoes that fall.
Mm.
And I'm really happy with the narrative. Like I part of me wonders will I ever get like from my perspective a narrative this cohesive, you know,
Yeah.
where everything gets better, where everything kind of fits the theme perfectly. Like I'm really excited for people to like I said, I've been really excited to see the reception on issue 4 and 5,
So,
particularly 5.
well, one thing that kind of like glanced to me when I was reading 4 and 5 was when the first Pet Cemetery movie came out from Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I didn't even read the books. The byline for Pet Cemetery, it said like right underneath it is some things should stay buried.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
when you play with death, more than likely everything that comes with it, not going to be that great, regardless of the outcome.
I mean, that's what it's about. It's about the inability to let go, right? Like that's what Jess does. And ultimately she makes like a couple wrong decisions, you know, and I think that was basically premise. Yeah, like
Yeah.
don't bring me back. You gotta move on. I mean, it sucks, you know, it's you know, it's unfortunate, but you gotta try to move on.
That was going to actually be my next question. I was going to ask, like, would you primarily say the entire scale of this 5 issue story is Jess mainly the one at fault for this entire series?
I think she pulls the inciting incident, you know. But I think you know, truthfully, I think everybody has their share of blame.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, DK is the like he's the driving force of the plot. She makes a choice. Trey is scary. Trey pops off and makes mistakes. So I think it's all I think I have a share of blame, but I think something that was really important to me was that Jess at multiple points could kind of rectify her mistake
Mm-hmm.
or take accountability, and she doesn't. You
Yeah,
know,
because
that was super important to me.
even so, was it DK actually asked her, does she regret bringing him back?
Mm-hmm.
And she ultimately says she doesn't.
Yeah. And that was to me, that was when you see the ending, especially, you'll know why it was so important that all right, she made her decision. Like you know, she made her bed multiple times. Even in issue 2, there was a moment like that where she had an opportunity to kind of stop things in their tracks, and she didn't take it.
Mm. And the thing is, I guess at the end of the day, because she basically made her bed with her decision and everything like that, it it pretty much set up the fact that she was just like a pariah in this. She was going to be the martyr.
I mean, yeah, it's essentially, yeah. I don't disagree, man. I think she's a great character. I think yeah, I'm really happy with the character development we were able to just shove in this 5 issue series.
Definitely. Now, what would you say your play on morality with the main characters has been throughout this entire series?
What's been the play? I think it's um if I understand your question, I guess it's with all of them. I mean, it's different things, right?
Mhm.
Like with Jess, I mean, I guess it's the inability to let go, but like with Jess, it's the inability to move on, and you certainly understand why it'd be hard for her to do so. Um, with Trey, you know, I guess I could say it's like letting everybody's worst impulses kind of take over. You know, DK becoming like a revenge machine, Trey being jumpy, Jess, you know, not being able to move on. You know, I think that's it.
So now, ultimately, when you first brought this to everybody in the masses, It was a revenge comic per se, a
Yeah.
supernatural revenge comic. Now, ultimately, and I know you wrote this backwards. Was it always perceived as revenge being a double-sided coin?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. No, that was the because that's what the story was, you know. And I think you'll find. I mean, it's also like there's this great line, where this guy named Pooh he says, dig if you seek revenge, dig two graves, and he flips it and he says one for him, whoever he's with, you know.
Right,
So there's a lot of sprinkling. I think it mentions the theme sprinkled throughout, but I don't think it's like super heavy handed at any point.
right. And even I will say this by I'm gonna say issue 4 when I started reading it, I almost forgot that literally from the beginning, you said that this is a horror comic. And
Yeah,
you almost
yeah,
yeah, and towards the end, you figuring, okay, DK is gonna get his, and then he's gonna ride off into the sunset, and there's gonna be this happy ending. And you totally forget that
yeah.
this is a horror comic. You know,
That it is.
necessarily it doesn't have to end this way. No horror movie has a great ending at the end. Sometimes you see the girl walking off into the sunset, a car pulls up, the antagonist is still living, pulls her into the car, then the screen goes black.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think if you think about horror like Alien, I think that's a great example of like Ripley wins, but the set like a lot of these movies, like the sequel is about dealing with the trauma from the first
Yeah,
incident. When you think about, I guess we could call Terminator a horror movie if you wanted to like
you
stretch
could.
that. Was the Descent is I think that's a Descent, the one where they go into the caves.
Yeah, the girls going into the cave finding.
Ex- yeah, PTSD is like a major driving force for like Halloween 2. The yeah, that so it's yeah, no, absolutely. I think for me, I never try to have I think it's too easy to have an outright downer ending, right? Or an outright exceedingly happy ending. I try to make things somber in
Mm-hmm.
some way, or or have a silver lining, if it's really bleak, or have like my oh my goodness, what is the movie? Is it The Graduate, when they're riding in the bus? It's Andy. It's not Andy Hoffman. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm forgetting. I can't
Dustin,
forget
Dustin.
Dustin Hoffman. And have you seen the Graduate?
I've seen The Graduate. Yeah,
It's really good. But when they're riding the bus and they've committed to each other, and then like they kind of just look like, how have we made the right decision? And you hear that
yeah,
damn the guitar riff from Simon Garfunkel. It's like that to me is the perfect ending. Like it is
yeah.
an amazing ending. And that's
Because
kind
they
of what I like to do.
because they've gone through like leaps and bounds to get to this moment, and then they're still unsure.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a great way. And I'm thinking back to like all this stuff I'm writing. And I think so much of having, you want to give a character strong motivation, right? Because that's the map for the audience on
Mm-hmm.
what's about to happen next, right? Is the character's motivation. I really like when you can almost you almost just examine the character's motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you hold up a mirror to it and say, is this a good way to do this? Is this a good idea? And a lot of times, like when I like my stories, it's not. If you're a protagonist is like 100% doing the right thing, that might be kind of boring, like there's
Right.
not a lot of room. But if what they're doing is ultimately, like, I love stories when it's like, I need to do this, and then they realize they don't have to do it. Like that's some of my favorite stories.
Mm. Now,
When it's like,
essentially, when you're talking about the means and the ways to spin this off,
mhm.
necessarily with how the story ended, like, do you basically just live in the same time frame? Is there other characters that we don't know about that are connected to the main characters in order to continue the story? How does one perceive that?
I'm working on a prequel series that's going to be a western,
Mm,
and which I'm very, very, very excited about. This might be my magnum opus. I don't like the idea of having a magnum opus, but this is gonna be. I usually try to, like, Decay is 5 and she starts at 6. Um, so I'm going to try to it's going to be a prequel, a Western. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be completely unrelated story wise, but it's going to have like the themes of, like morality and like grief and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next spinoff is, the next spinoff is basically taking the themes and a few plot elements and then it's kind of like dealing with the ramifications of this particular story.
Got you.
And then I mean, I'm working on so many shorts. I didn't really like the idea of doing a shared universe, but then I thought of like some really cool ways, to tell more stories.
Right.
So to me, I want every story in this universe to be amazing, like to where it's to where it really just builds on the themes and gives you like a really good piece of storytelling. And also when you see the title Decay, it's like, okay, this is gonna be good. And the framework of just bringing somebody back with a necklace is I was talking about this earlier. I've
Mm-hmm.
done this is my third interview, so I'm trying. It's like trying to like, oh, I said this earlier, but no, this is a different interview. We were talking about Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at this, you look at that, in other concept albums, right? Let's talk about concept albums, right? Like I'm thinking of the
808s and
Wall.
Heartbreaks.
I don't know if is that a concept album?
That's a concept album.
That doesn't work as well for my example, from my
Mhm.
point. But the Wall,
Okay. Pink
um,
Floyd.
Pink Floyd, Gorillas, Plastic Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and then Good Kid, Mad City. It's like you have a very thin plot here, I guess, for the concept, and then you can just talk about so much stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Wall is, oh my god, the Wall is about the war, like fascism. It's about so
Mm-hmm.
much stuff. I couldn't even possibly, the Good Kid, Mad City is about poverty, religion, hypocrisy, circle nature, violence. My favorite, peer pressure,
Mm-hmm.
love. It's about so many stuff, and then Gorillas is about like environmentalism, all kinds of stuff. And it's like that setup of just having a necklace and come back from the dead. It allows you to kind of talk about multiple things, and that's my
Mm-hmm.
favorite part about the premise is that it's just we can literally talk about anything. We can do any genre, talk about anything. This happens to be like a horror thriller. Like I said, the other one's going to be like a western. And I got some comedies. I got a comedy in the works too, like with the premise.
I think I remember you telling me about this. I think it was probably the first time that we talked that you said that you wanted to basically take a dive into comedy in some sort. Now,
Oh yeah.
is there a way to genre bend? Is that what you're doing there? Or is it strictly comedy?
No, it's gonna be strictly a comedy. Actually, I actually love writing comedy. I think it's fine that I did this, but I kind of wrote myself into a corner with
Mm-hmm.
these couple of stories. But it's coming, man. I feel like I can write anything, and I also think that when I think there's some funny moments in the K too as well. Like there's
There
like
is.
some dissonance, because it's like a ridiculous premise, and like when you can play with that aspect of it it's really fun because it's just so serious, but it's like it's kind of silly at certain parts. But no, I mean, being able to write comedy really well, like being able to write comedic dialogue, it just allows you to essentially allows you to develop characters in a really quick way, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
if character can make an audience laugh, they're going to empathize with them immediately.
Right.
And it allows you to, like, you don't have to have the most interesting thing happen all the time. You can have slow moments that can be that can boost that up, so that's definitely something that I would like to get into more.
Dope. Now I saw what was it recently that you've had the opportunity to basically do a panel with Comic Con. How'd that feel?
Oh man, that was great, bro. It was Vince White, Pat Shan, my boy Pat Shan, and Charlie McKelvey, my other boy. And man, it was a great time. I'd never done a panel before, and I kind of try to think of it like a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But like you'll notice right now, I'm not looking at the screen. So even then it's like hard. Like it's hard to look back at the people. But no, it was fun. It was definitely a highlight of my career. And it was cool. I'm looking to do that more in the future.
Now, what was the topic, if I may ask?
Just publish indie comics. Like, it was pretty broad. Like, what's the hardest part? What do you think about the landscape? There's conversations about manga versus Western comics. Just I don't want to say basic, but indie comic stuff.
Right. Now, do you feel as though being somebody that's basically jumped into indie comics, as deep as you have over the past couple years, now, how do you see the landscape being now that you're in it?
I think with Kickstarter, I felt like there's you can't be gate kept, right? Like if you make a good product and you advertise that product well, then it's gonna find an audience, you know. So I
Mhm.
feel like it's scary in that, you know, if something's not working, you only have yourself to blame. But by that same the opposite of that coin is that you have every tool that you need to
Mhm.
I don't know how many people can like make a career off of solely kickstarting books. I don't know if that exists. Like, you know, I think you might have to be Brian Polito for that.
Right.
But if you just want to keep making stories and you know, something a supplemental income, you know, I think the tools are out there.
Now, do you feel as though like the aspect of marketing and content creation are they attributed, of course, to having a personality behind somebody that's writing the books?
I think so. I think anytime you can put your personality out there or a version of yourself, I think that's a good thing. Like empathy is a big deal, right? And
Mhm.
I think that's the benefit of content creation. That's the benefit of, you know, podcasts or doing shows. Like,
Mhm.
sure, you can have a great premise, but if you come off like an asshole, like nobody's gonna want to buy your book. But you know, like that's just an example. Um, so yeah, no, I mean, coming up, yeah, being a person or having a persona and then kind of communicating this to the audience so they get to know you better is super invaluable.
Now, being with your first two titles, one being, of course, a horror comic, the other one a psychological thriller. Has anybody ever said to you that you don't seem like somebody that would make a horror or psychological thriller?
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm I can be a pretty goofy guy, you know, to the point where, yeah, when I started with Charter Decay, people wanted something more funny because that's what I had been writing at the time before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you really know me, it makes sense, you know,
Yeah.
like that's what I like. I essentially like my three when I talk about movies that I like pitch black drama thrillers like Men's Society,
Mm-hmm.
or I like raunchy comedies like Judd Apatow, you know,
Okay.
like Super Bad. That's my shit right there. So
Right.
if you know that about me, then it shouldn't be a surprise that that I make thrillers.
Now the current state of horror movies that have pretty much been out there, like say for instance, like uh I know you have a type of a disdain for Jordan Peele.
I don't have a disdain for no, man. I just think us was trash. I just don't think us was good, man. But Nope was fantastic. I love
Right.
Nope.
But
So he's in my good graces.
is there a certain era of horror movies that you fit you that you fit in?
I would say the newer stuff. Yeah, I would say like when you see the new age of horror or elevated horror, which I don't really like that term, but
Hmm.
that's just the way I identify it. Like Midsummer's one of my favorite movies,
I was
you know,
about to
and that
say
was
that
a
any of the
huge influence
A24s,
on me.
Hereditary, Mother.
Yeah, Mother. Oh yeah, yeah, I love Mother. Like so many of those. I mean, I even go as far. Yeah, and then yes, those kind of movies were super influential. And then even like back in the day, I just loved Saw. I could not get enough of Saw movies,
Okay.
bro. I had just such a sadistic sense of humor at that point, and I just loved them so much. And I just loved the spectacle and all. There were also horror movies that weren't really scary, which is good because I was a baby. I was a baby as a kid, but like definitely the elevated A24 horror. And again, I think it's a disservice to a lot of normal, like I guess normal horror, but like normal horror is lit. Like nothing is better than like pop. You know, I said pop in a movie like it's a VHS or something, but like nothing's great than finding like a little nasty little thriller on Netflix or something. You know what I'm saying? Like
Uh-huh.
I that's the best. Like that's the shit. You know what I mean? So but I would say Ari Esther is a huge influence on me as a creator for sure.
Dope, man. So
I hope I'm saying
now,
his name right.
well, no, I think you said his name right. Now,
Oh
as
hell yeah.
far as like all the stuff that you're basically conjuring up in your mind and what you want to put forward when the end of this campaign ends, and of course this series ultimately closes. Of course, you got intrusive thoughts, but what else do we expect from you to come?
Oh man, I have a, like I said, the Decay spinoff, which will be ready this year. Gotta look at my calendar. It might come out this year. I gotta see. Um, there's gonna be a Decay short at least. There's gonna be a Decay short as well. I'm working on a wrestling comic book, which is gonna be super exciting. Another revenge story. That's like kind of, it's different, but it's essentially like revenge is bad. You know, it's another one of those that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like really really cool. I got the illustrations for that already. That's gonna be fire. And then I have a revenge manga, fantasy manga coming out too, which is, guess what the theme of that is. So a whole lot of revenge, I guess. A whole lot of revenge, I guess. But um no, I think the comics are gonna keep getting better. I think I'm learning more about the medium,
Yeah.
which is a nice feeling. And I think it's gonna be all quality storytelling. Like I said, I want to I want to do everything, and it's shaping up to be that's gonna be the case.
Now, what is Anthony Stokes' reasoning for jumping into manga? Like, what is your direction in going into manga?
um the I guess the cynical part of it is, when I go to, like, let's say the brothers read manga, you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah, they
like a
do,
lot.
bro. I
They
got a
do.
couple up here. Yeah.
They do. So I mean, that's it, right? When I'm at a con, I want, when somebody's like, "Oh, I like Dragon Ball Z, not comic books." Boom, I got something for you.
Mhm.
That's the cynical answer. The real one of the real reasons is that I'm like manga. I would, as a kid, I got grounded a lot. Like I couldn't watch. I was grounded like pretty much 3/4 of my high school, middle school. Nah, I mean high school at a certain point they couldn't, but like my middle school year was like I was. Once that first report card came out, I was grounded. Like so, I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't, but I had manga, and I would just read manga. I read my mom. I used to love the Yu-Gi-Oh TV show, and my mom's friend, basically a family friend, brought me Yu-Gi-Oh
Yeah.
Volume One, and recipes to the creator Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like amazed, and I started reading that. Then I read some Naruto, read some One Piece, or Rurouni Kenshin, Rama One Half, and I would just devour these fucking books, And I was reading comics a little bit back then, you know what I'm saying? I had
Yeah.
the Essential Spider-Man, I had the Ultimate Spider-Man. I read, Watchmen, the big stuff. But mostly as a kid during my formative years, I was reading manga. And then I got grounded so bad, she took all my manga too. I
Mhm.
had a Foot Locker. She threw it
Sure,
all
sure.
the manga in there. She took it out, but I had some stashed around. I had some in the floorboards and the drywall, so I could still read it. So, um, I just have a love for the medium, and if I'm being honest, I prefer it 100% to Western comics.
I was about to say, by the comics that you write, you don't seem like somebody that would necessarily get into the capes and cowls or the superhero type genre at all.
I would have to have a really great story, And then even if I did, it'd probably look like The Boys, to be honest. Like to be honest and honest, it'd probably be something irreverent,
Hmm.
which that already exists. So I would never say never. If I have something that, maybe I should think it was super, maybe I should be thinking it was some superheroes, but no. And I think what I love about manga is, I thought about this because, like, I'm trying to be more empathetic, because my friend pointed out that manga creators have editors, like,
They
which
do.
which is, of course they do, but like I understand the Western structure of a publisher, right? And I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that as far as that it would be the same, with manga. So I'm gonna do the same to Western comics. And it's like, man, if I had to write a comic book a week or 2 weeks or monthly, and I couldn't work to a logical conclusion, that sounds hard. That sounds like a hard job. Um, so I want to try to be nicer to the Western writer, because I couldn't do that. I know for a fact I couldn't do that. I think the reason manga is better, I think the dialogue is better. I think it's more auteur,
Hmm.
and and it just you're getting one vision, right? You're getting one vision, something that has an end. Even One Piece is working towards an end. It's been going on for 20 years. Berserk and One Piece are long as shit, but we are progressing to an end. And you don't get that with a lot of bigger mainstream comics. So that I think that's why it appeals to me. I mean, Chainsaw Man is incredible. I mean, I read Chainsaw Man, and I made intrusive thoughts because I was like, I need to make a story that's this crazy and like interesting, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I love manga, love it, love it, love it.
Dope. Bro, I appreciate you doing this with me. I mean, shoot, as far as like this series and how you basically put it together in the past couple of years, I'm happy for you that you
Yeah,
man put that out there, and definitely now that you've already been working on your second series with intrusive thoughts and everything that you pretty much got going on in the future is definitely on the right path, brother. Thank you.
thank you so much, man. Thank you for having me, man. Man, it's always great to come on here.
For sure, for sure. So from Anthony Stokes, James Grant, Master Facts Boyce, and we are out.